seriously popular.
I'm Caroline Cheetham.
And I'm Liz Hull.
In today's episode of the trial of Lucy Letby, Baby K, we bring you her evidence in her words as she told the jury she's innocent of not just this charge, but all of the crimes she's been convicted of. We'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome to episode 5. I am not guilty.
Lucy
A
Letby
nurse
is already
trusted with the lives of
has been
newborn
found
babies.
guilty of killing
Today
7
found
newborn
guilty.
children and attempting to murder 6 more.
A retrial on a charge the last jury couldn't reach a verdict on.
Lucy Letby is a child killer. Last year, she was convicted of murdering 7 babies and trying to murder 6 more when she was working as a neonatal nurse at the Countess of Chester Hospital in the northwest of England.
She was sentenced to spend her life in jail.
She's now back in court to face a retrial on one charge the jury could not reach a verdict on.
The alleged attempted murder of a premature baby girl known as Baby K.
In this podcast, we'll examine what's happened and bring you the details behind the headlines.
This is the trial of Lucy Letby, Baby K.
Today, we'll bring you the evidence of Lucy Letby as the defence case got underway and she gave her version of events to the jury.
We'll bring you her insistence that she didn't harm or attempt to harm Baby K, and when she answered the police's questions, she was just trying to be helpful.
She didn't accept that Dr Ravi Jayaram ever walked into Nursery 1 to find her standing by Baby K's cot, doing nothing to help as she collapsed.
And she also denied looking for grief when she searched online for the parents of children who had died.
So just after 10:30am yesterday, the barristers, the police officers, the media and the public all filed into Court 7 at Manchester Crown Court. And at 10:51, to a packed, hushed courtroom, Lucy Letby stood, took the Bible in her hand and swore to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. She wore her long hair down and she was wearing a smart black trouser suit.
Then her barrister, Ben Myers KC, began his questioning. And just to remind you, the allegation is that between about 3:45am and 3:50am on the night shift of February the 17th, 2016, Lucy Letby was caught virtually red-handed by Dr Ravi Jayaram at Baby K's cotside, and she was doing nothing as she collapsed, he said. It's the prosecution case that she deliberately dislodged the tiny, premature baby's breathing tube to try to murder her.
She denies the charge, and last week, when the prosecution closed its case, Mr Myers indicated to the jury that his client would be giving evidence in her own defence, and that's what she did. We were there to watch her, and today we'll bring you what she told the jury. We've voiced up their exchanges. This one begins with Ben Myers.
Did you attempt to kill Baby K?
No.
Did you intend to do her any harm at all?
No.
Do you accept that you ever tried to harm any baby in your care?
No, I don't.
Do you recall particular events that took place in Nursery 1 in February 2016?
No, I don't.
We know that the allegation is based on the evidence of Dr Jayaram. He says that he came in and Baby K was desaturating to low 80s. You were standing there doing nothing and no alarms were sounding. Do you recall any incident with Dr Jayaram coming in when something like that was happening?
No.
Do you have any recollection of Dr Jayaram coming into the nursery when you were there by yourself?
No, I don't.
Do you recall saying that Baby K had just started to desaturate?
No.
Do you remember being there at all at that time, in those circumstances?
No.
Was there any incident that morning where you were trying to hurt Baby K?
No.
Or why you were not giving her the help that she needed?
No.
When you say you don't recall any incident with Baby K, like Dr Jayaram described, by doing that, are you accepting that it happened?
No.
Mr Myers reminded Lucy Letby that it was the prosecution case that she had tampered with Baby K's breathing tube twice more on the shift to give colleagues the impression that she was habitually displacing her own breathing tube.
Did you at any point try to hurt Baby K that night?
No.
Did you try to interfere with her tube to make it look like she was unwell and desaturating for no apparent reasons?
Absolutely not.
To try to cover your tracks?
No.
Mr. Myers took Lucy Letby through what she'd told police in each of her 3 police interviews in July 2018, June 2019, and November 2020. We covered these in our episode on Friday last week.
Yeah, she agreed she was reliant upon the notes, including those made by other nurses, which were a record of medicine given to the babies on the unit, their observations, who was looking after them, and any notes on their condition. She said she didn't remember anything independently of this paperwork that she was given for the purpose of the interviews.
And in those interviews, you'll remember, she said she had no recollection of the incident at 3:50, and she said if she'd been in nursery 1, when baby K was collapsing, she would have summoned help. She also told police it was a shame that if Dr Jayaram had felt uncomfortable about her being in nursery 1 on her own with baby K, that he didn't raise the issue with her sooner.
Mr. Myers then asked her about a question a detective asked her, which was explain what you were doing when Dr Jayaram walked into the nursery.
The question is put to you like a fact. Had you actually agreed you were there in the first place?
No.
Mr. Myers then quoted the officer again.
Tell me what would have happened if Dr Jayaram had not walked in when you were stood by the incubator.
And he asked Lucy Letby,
Have you ever agreed there was ever a time when he walked in to see you stood by the incubator?
No.
Do you remember anything like that happening?
No.
She told the jury she only agreed with the police during questioning that baby K was sedated or paralysed at the time of her collapse because that was what she was told by the officers, and because she took what Dr Jayaram had said to them as the truth. She said police were asking her questions at the time that she believed to be factually accurate. And she told the jury that she'd not seen any evidence on prescription charts since to confirm that baby K was paralysed, and she now disagreed that this was the case.
She took the jury through the type of medication babies are given and the difference between medication to sedate and medication to paralyse. She said the medication baby K had been given was to sedate but not to paralyse her. She also said she only told officers she didn't dislodge baby K's tube because that was what was being asked of her at the time. And when she told police she might have been waiting for baby K to self-correct when she collapsed, she did so because she was trying to be helpful, to try to answer the questions they were asking her. But she insisted she does not accept now that she was in the nursery not helping baby K at all.
Mr. Myers pointed out that she was feeding another baby at around 3:30 in the morning, shortly before the alleged attack on baby K 15 minutes later. And she insisted a feed like this, which was done via a baby's nasal feeding tube, could take up to 20 minutes to complete, and also that the charts showed she'd changed the baby's nappy at the time as well. Now, she was also shown text messages that she exchanged with other nurses after the shift when they were discussing baby K. She said it wasn't unusual for staff to discuss what had happened on the shift, and she pointed out that it was actually another nurse who brought baby K into the text exchange by asking her about the 24-weeker.
In her evidence, she also said it was commonplace for staff to be in and out of different nurseries across the shift. That might be to get supplies, medication, or to help out one another.
We'll take a quick break there.
So then it was Nick Johnson Casey's turn to question Lucy Letby. He began by asking her what would happen to a premature baby, like baby K, if someone deliberately dislodged her breathing tube.
If a nurse deliberately displaced the endotracheal tube on a child of baby K's gestation, what would likely happen?
That's a hypothetical question.
Why would you not displace an endotracheal tube?
It would cause harm to a baby. They couldn't breathe without that tube.
Do you agree you are likely to kill a baby if you do that deliberately?
Yes.
Would you agree a baby's more likely to die if you didn't do something about it quickly?
Yeah.
And that doing something like that for a child of baby K's age is likely to kill them, or at least severely compromise their prospects of survival?
Yeah, it would for any baby.
But particularly a child of baby K's age?
Yeah.
And that's why you did, isn't it?
No.
You actually did it 3 times.
No, I didn't, no.
You can't remember anything about it.
That's right.
But does it come to this? Because you are not the sort of person who kills babies, you wouldn't have done that sort of thing.
I know my actions, and I know that I didn't dislodge the tube.
Can you answer the question? Because you are not the sort of person who kills babies, you wouldn't have done that sort of thing.
No, I wouldn't, no.
You are saying you are not that sort of person that would kill babies.
No.
But you are just that sort of person, aren't you?
No.
You have killed 7 babies in that unit, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
You tried to kill 6 others, one on 2 separate occasions.
No.
Mr. Johnson said that when she was interviewed by the police, Lucy Letby had never suggested to them that Dr. Jayaram's version of events was untrue. He said she'd accepted that she was in Nursery 1 when Baby K collapsed, but had later changed her account to say she couldn't remember being in the room as a way of avoiding answering difficult questions in the courtroom.
But she denied this and insisted she'd never accepted Dr. Jayaram's account of what happened.
Where do you say Dr. Jayaram cannot be right? Because I would not do that sort of thing.
It doesn't, but I made it quite clear I did nothing to hurt Baby K.
You didn't say, I don't recall being in the nursery. What you say is, I don't recall why I was in the nursery. Why did you go along with a suggestion which was clearly incriminating if you thought the person making the statement was out to get you?
I don't think I went along with it. It was a highly stressful situation.
You were accepting you were in the room.
No.
The reason is, you remember those events very well.
No.
The reason you are pretending not to remember is so you don't have to answer the difficult questions now.
No, I don't have any memory, and I was trying to fill in the gaps.
You were hedging your bets. You were trying to cover for all sorts of eventualities at that point.
No, I was telling the truth.
So to be helpful, you were prepared to go along with the account of Dr. Jayaram, who you say had it in for you.
The police kept asking and asking me, so I tried to give them an answer.
Who were you helping?
In that situation, it's very intimidating when you're in a police interview. That's what I did, and that's it.
Who were you helping?
I don't know, not me.
So you were prepared to sacrifice yourself for somebody you are not sure who you are helping?
I think that's taken out of context. I think I was trying to be compliant with the police in a very stressful, intimidating situation.
You weren't saying you weren't there.
No, I'm saying I can't remember.
Lucy Letby agreed that if it was right that Dr. Jayaram didn't hear alarms but Nurse Joanne Williams did, it was because someone had silenced the alarm for 1 minute on the monitor.
Mr. Johnson suggested that she deliberately failed to sign Baby K's intensive care chart because she'd intended to do her harm and she didn't want to be attached to her paperwork. He also claimed she deliberately left the computerised nursing note of another baby she was looking after open for 14 minutes when Baby K was being booked into the unit to give the impression she was otherwise engaged.
But she denied there was anything malicious in her actions and said her failure to sign the chart was a simple oversight on a busy shift.
Mr. Johnson also suggested that she'd seen Baby K's parents when they were in Nursery 1 having photographs taken with their newborn daughter. He reminded her that the pictures were time-stamped at 4:31 a.m. and took her to nursing notes of another baby being looked after in intensive care that night, which showed she had been administering medication to that child just 3 minutes later at 4:34.
But she said she had no memory of seeing Baby K's mum and dad that morning and would have been focusing anyway on medication for her baby. Now then, Mr. Johnson reminded the jury that Lucy Letby had searched for Baby K's surname on Facebook at around midnight on April the 20th, 2018, 2 years, 2 months and 3 days after the alleged attack, and he pointed out this was almost 3 months before she was first arrested.
He asked her whether it was coincidence that Nurse Williams had given a statement to police about the alleged attack just a few weeks before, and he suggested word had filtered back to her, and it was this that prompted her to look up Baby K's name on social media.
But Lucy Letby said she wasn't friends with Joanne Williams and had no contact with her, and she told the jury she couldn't remember why she'd carried out the search.
The truth is, you were habitually searching for the parents of children you have been convicted of murdering and attempting to murder.
I looked at many parents on Facebook, yes.
Answer the question, please. You habitually searched for the parents of children you have been convicted of murdering and attempting to murder.
Yes.
That's just innocent coincidence, is it?
Yes, I'm not guilty of what I've been found guilty of. I searched for a lot of parents and a lot of people frequently on Facebook.
Mr. Johnson pointed out that some of the Facebook searches took place late at night.
Do you have trouble sleeping?
I was on my phone at various points in the night. I don't know whether I was at work. I went on my phone throughout the day and night.
This was your habit, wasn't it?
Those weren't just the only people. I looked at many people, not just parents.
Those were parents whose children had died or were seriously injured. What was your fascination with parents of children who had died or were seriously injured?
It was not a fascination. I regularly looked at a lot of parents.
Were you carrying the names of children around in your head?
Yes, I carry a lot of babies around in my head.
But not so much detail of baby K?
No.
Were you looking for grief?
Pardon?
Were you looking for grief?
I don't understand the question.
Parents on their Facebook sites, were you hoping to see evidence of grief?
No.
So Mr. Johnson then took Lucy Letby through the medical notes of another baby, a baby boy, who she'd helped care for on a shift the night before the alleged attack on baby K. So this would have been February the 16th. The notes referred to an issue with his breathing tube and included information about a catheter that had snapped from its hub. And in a pretty dramatic moment in the courtroom, he asked her about this. He said, "Does that sort of thing happen often?" And she answered, "Not often, but it does happen." And he said, "Was it done by you?" Lucy Letby said no.
Mr. Johnson then asked Lucy Letby about babies being left to self-correct if they were desaturating, and she confirmed it was the policy at the Countess of Chester Hospital to give babies time to self-correct. He said this contradicted the views of an expert witness the trial heard from, that staff should intervene with a baby born at 25 weeks. But she insisted the policy at Chester for all babies was to let them self-correct.
Yeah, he also challenged her inability to remember the third time that baby K collapsed. And he said another nurse coming onto the day shift said it was Lucy Letby who'd called for help from the nursery. On this occasion, he said baby K was on morphine, but her breathing tube was too far in, 20% too far in. That's over a centimetre. He suggested it was she who pushed it in, but she denied this.
He then alleged that Lucy Letby had failed to update the records about the third desaturation incident.
He said this was because she didn't want there to be a record of a third extubation with her in the room. And he accused her again of trying to kill baby K, just, he said, as she tried to kill 6 other babies and successfully murdered 7 more. Lucy Letby denied harming baby K and said repeatedly that she couldn't remember the incident with Dr Jayaram, but she confirmed that in a grievance she'd launched with the hospital, she felt Dr Jayaram and Dr Stephen Breary were set against her.
Finally, before Mr Myers closed the case for the defence, the judge, Mr Justice Goss, asked Lucy Letby if the staff at the Countess would have been informed about baby K's death at Arrow Park Hospital. She said they would have been told, but she wasn't sure when. Maybe days later.
Lucy Letby denies the charge of attempted murder, and the court is now having a break until Monday when the judge will give the jury some legal directions, and we'll be back with all the developments in the case. Please follow along to the trial of Lucy Letby wherever you get your podcasts. And just to say, again, for anyone who's been listening to episodes of this podcast from the previous trial, we've had to take those down for the duration of this trial for legal reasons.
You can read my reports in the Mail and follow us on X at The Trial Podcast, or contact us on thetrial@mailmetromedia.co.uk.
You can leave a comment on Spotify or send us a voice note on WhatsApp on 07796 657 512. Start your message with the word trial.
See you then.